Hello, everybody. I want to start reviewing some older movies on the channel. Um, I just think it's kind of interesting, because I don't always see new movies every day, you know what I mean? um, so I'm gonna start off with a review. Like, what I'm gonna do is basically for every new movie I see, like, that is old, I'm gonna do a review, or even if I have seen the movie before, if I watch it, it refreshes my memory and I'll review it. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna be doing probably quite a few of these, hopefully. I'm gonna try and hit some movies maybe that a lot of people haven't seen, which would be kind of nice. So this is gonna be the first one in that long line. I guess technically my Harry Potter review is, but this is for its own little series. This is the first one, and I'm going to start off with Wall Street, the original 1987 movie directed by Oliver Stone. Now, Oliver Stone is a very controversial director. He has made a handful of great movies. He made Platoon. He made Born on the 4th of July. This. Um, Depending on how you feel about Natural Born Killers, he did direct that as well. He wrote the movie Scarface. He also wrote Midnight Express, which was kind of a big 1970s film. But at the same time, he's also directed quite a few duds. To say the least, he made The Hand. That was actually, I think, the first movie he ever directed, which I guess someone will say, oh, that's a cheap shot. You can't, do that. Okay. Well, he made recently World Trade Center, which was a really, really bad Nicolas Cage movie. He made Savages, which was pretty bad as well. He made Wall Street Money Never Sleeps, which was it had mediocre reviews. It's widely considered quite disappointing, but at the same time, it's more mixed to positive than say mixed to negative. But still, a lot of people I know are not fans of Any Given Sunday. He's recently, I don't know. Recently, he hasn't turned in quite the same movies that he used to back in the day. And he's got a new movie coming out in May called Snowden, about Edward Snowden, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Shailene Woodley, Rhys Ifans, Nicolas Cage, and a couple other really big actors. And personally, I think the trailer did not look very good, but that's just me. But I'm going to review, obviously, Wall Street, which is one of his kind of classic movies. And Wall Street is the story of Bud Fox. Now, Bud Fox is this, he's a really rather mild mannered, really smart kid. He's a stockbroker, and yeah, he has a great relationship with his dad, who works at an airline. And his dad, while proud of who he is, also wishes, I think, Bud wouldn't have done what he did. Like, he wanted him to be like a doctor or a lawyer, something to make something, instead of basically being a salesman. A glorified salesman. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it kind of is what it is. But Bud is in it for the money, even though he is a good guy, and that leads him to cross paths with Gordon Gekko. Now, Bud hasn't really been making a whole lot of money in this first couple of years as a stockbroker. He's working for like a company. However, once he crosses path with Gekko, Gekko offers him a job, and not only is this job high paying, it is basically illegal. He does a lot of illegal insider trading and all sorts of stuff, and he starts living kind of the high life. He gets this new interior decorator girlfriend who's played by Daryl Hannah. And just kind of his world just kind of flips. And while it presents itself as, oh, he's so successful now, you see him deteriorate into this jerk. And then everything comes crashing down at the end when he finally has his realization what he's doing. And it's an intense last half hour. Let's talk about the cast a little bit here. Charlie Sheen plays the main character in the movie. He's Bud Fox, and he's really good. It really does suck that Charlie Sheen kind of had his meltdowns and whatnot, because the guy is a very talented actor. I mean, you can't deny it whether you like the guy or not. He is talented. He does a great job. Probably should have been nominated for an Oscar, but that's whatever. Martin Sheen actually plays his dad, which is funny because it's his real life dad, and he does a great job as well. I mean, Martin Sheen is literally great in just about everything he's in, so it doesn't come as too much of a surprise that he's great here as well. Daryl Hannah's pretty good. She's not in the movie a whole lot, but when she is, I mean, she does a good job. Nothing spectacular, but good. One of my favorite performances in the movie is actually John C. McGinley, who plays Bud Fox's buddy at the firm he works at. He's this really cool, goofy stockbroker who, while he's kind of scummy in a way, at the same time, I think he is a good guy deep down, and he's a nice guy. You know, he just kind of carries himself in a very skeetish kind of way. But obviously, the best performance of the movie is the one that garnered, well, Michael Douglas, his first Oscar win as an actor, and that's his performance as Gordon Gekko, and he does own this movie. Like, he just steals the show. He's as good as you've heard he is, by far. I mean, he's better, probably, than you might have heard. He is so good in this movie that even though he's doing these awful, awful things, he's still likable. It's really weird. It's just this charisma and this charm that he has about him that it's just ridiculous. It's like, it's intoxicating. And he does such a great job because he's not a good guy. He's an awful human being. But yet he almost makes it appear as he's just like anybody else. And I think you got to give massive, massive props to him for that. I think the best thing about this movie, the thing that makes it memorable, is the acting. And also it has a couple of very, very memorable quotes, such as "Greed is good" and "Modern Warfare is..." oh god, I can't remember the quote now. It's something about Modern Warfare being never mind. It actually, they use it in the video game Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. It is the opening line of, or no, it's Modern Warfare 3. They either use it as, I can't remember how they use it, but it's Modern Warfare 3. It's Modern Warfare. It's something about Modern Warfare and deception. That's right. I can't remember the quote though exactly. I don't want to look it up. Too tired. Sorry. But yeah. So what's memorable about it is the acting and a lot of the quotes, and I think that has to go a lot to the writing of this movie. It is an incredibly well-written, constructed movie. You can tell Oliver Stone really knew what he was talking about. He knew his source material. He had a lot to go with. And really, honestly, if you like Scarface and you like The Wolf of Wall Street, if you mix those two movies together, that is this movie. The only difference is that Bud Fox isn't addicted to coke, like either of those guys are. He's not a drug addict, which is kind of nice, because it's like, okay, it doesn't feel like every other movie like this that I've seen in my life. The downfall to this movie, and it is a steep downfall, and it really does hurt the movie, is that it is just clunky. I don't think it's edited in a very cohesive manner. It gets very, very dull at times. And for a movie that, you know, it's one thing if it just seems dull because you don't know what they're talking about. That's one thing, you know, and I don't. And yet you can still find interest in it. The Wolf of Wall Street never ceased to be interesting, and it's kind of the same thing. A lot of it you don't understand, but, excuse me, the movie just does start to drag, and it focuses a little too much, too often, on Bud's, his kind of empire that he's built. It really, kind of just swims around in his success. And I get the point is to show, oh, look at that, happy endings can't come even through crime. And then it just comes crashing down. Like, I get that, but I think it could have been done in a much better way. And I don't think they needed to do it for as long, because I do think it hurt the integrity of this movie. It's not necessarily a thrilling movie, obviously. It's a movie about stockbroking in the 1980s. That said, it is enjoyable. It is considered widely considered a classic. I do think this movie is quite overrated. But what's interesting is while it's considered a classic, if you look at a lot of reviews, critics back in the day, and really even today, they didn't love the movie. It is widely remembered for the performance of Michael Douglas, and that is what kind of transcended it into a classic, as well as some of the quotes, which are admittedly fantastic. And that is not overrated. Neither one of those two things are overrated about the movie, but those two things have carried this movie into kind of an infamy that I don't think it deserves. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It is a very, very well made movie, but it's not a great movie. It's good, not great. It's good that has some brilliant things in it. The performances are brilliant, the writing is brilliant, the directing is very, very good, but the editing is really, really sloppy. And editing, honestly, is probably the most underrated thing when it comes to filmmaking. I don't think people realize how important good editing is. Good editing can either make a movie, or I mean, bad editing can either make a movie to end too quickly and just go by way too fast, or it can, unfortunately, even worse, drag. Um, a movie is well edited when it can last for 3 hours and not seem boring. Movies that have been able to kind of accomplish that, in my opinion, Django Unchained, the Dark Knight trilogy, those aren't 3 hours, but they're very close. I think all three of them are 2.5 plus. Pulp Fiction, basically any Tarantino movie at all. Um, really, any Christopher Nolan movie too that is really long. Like I know Inception's up there, I think, in the time as well. Shawshank Redemption, Saving Private Ryan, Gladiator. Now this isn't that long. This is literally an hour to a half hour, or a half hour to an hour shorter than a lot of those movies I just mentioned. Yet it felt longer, and that's not a good thing. Editing might be, apart from writing, editing might be the most important thing in a movie, in my opinion. Uh, and the shoddy kind of editing really did hurt this movie. I mean, like I said, other than that, it is a very well-made movie. I love all the different suits that Gordon and Bud and all them wear. It's kind of cool looking, Obviously, New York is a beautiful city that they shot in. And like I said, that performances, but in the end, the editing does hold this movie back. And I can't necessarily also say that, like, it's not just that it drags, but also it just made something seem completely insignificant. For instance, Daryl Hannah's performance, like, she's made out like she's going to be this big point of the movie, but she's not really in it a lot, and she honestly just seemed kind of pointless in it. She's good for the scene she's in, but it's a pointless role because she's not in it a lot. And that's kind of frustrating because it felt way too rushed. Terrence Stamp is also in this movie, and he's very good. He's a great actor. He played General Zod in Superman 2. He was in, let me think, Haunted Mansion. I guess that's not a good example of saying he's a good actor. Neither was Elektra or Star Wars Episode 1. He was in Yes Man. He was the best part of that movie, even though that movie was kind of underrated, I thought. The guy's a very good actor, very talented, very charismatic, and very funny. And in this movie, he has, like, I think, 2 scenes, but I feel like there was a lot more cut from him, and he totally, when he comes in at the end, because he's in there at the beginning, he's kind of one of the first guys they kind of rip off. He's kind of Gordon's archenemy, but they don't establish that. Like, they kind of just say it, but they never really show it. So at the end, when Bud goes against Gordon and Gecko with him, and he, like, when they go together, it's that whole, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It would have worked and paid off so much better had there been more scenes showing that these guys do have a feud. Because them not showing it really, it does hurt the movie. Another thing too is at the end, uh, Bud gets arrested for, not tax evasions, but basically he gets caught for insider trading. Yeah, actually that is what happened. He got caught insider trading. But they never really established that. I think they had one scene, maybe, and I don't even remember if they had one scene where they're kind of establishing, hey, they're on these guys' radar. They established that Jimmy Spader was on the radar. Oh yeah, I forgot he's in the movie too. He has like 3 scenes, and that's it. Another role that totally felt like it was supposed to be more important than it actually was. That one maybe not as much as say the other ones I was talking about, but still. Um, but it just feels like there was a lot more to this movie that was cut out to keep it at 2 hours, but at the same time, then what the problem is that the pacing of this movie isn't consistent. It goes from high pace to slow, and then back to high pace, and then it's like, ugh, you're giving me whiplash here. You need to stay consistent unless the plot calls for it, and I don't think the plot called for the fast pace at the very beginning. It should have remained that slow build up. Um, it just should have. I don't know. I think there are just other ways this could have been done. Um, I hope I'm not pooping on anybody's livelihood here because the movie is good. I know some people absolutely love it. I'm not as huge of a fan. I'm gonna give it a B. I mean, I still think that's a great grade. I know someone is gonna leave in the comments probably or something. Or yeah, I know someone watching this is gonna be like, he gave Batman vs Superman an A, and then he gives this a B. It's subjective. Remember that. And these are just my opinions. Um, I think it's as good of a movie as Batman vs Superman. That's why I gave it a B plus or whatever as my actual objective grade. And I would give Wall Street probably a B plus as well, objectively. I'd say it's probably a little better than Batman vs Superman, but like personally, I do think that the editing was just poorly done. And I know I'm droning on about the same thing, but that does kill a movie if it's not done right, because then it makes everything else feel slightly inadequate. That said, I do recommend checking it out, if not just for the performances alone. I mean, yeah. If you're an Oliver Stone fan, obviously check it out. My favorite Oliver Stone movie, if anybody's wondering, from the movies I've seen, I've only seen a couple of his stuff, is Platoon. I really do like Platoon. I guess if you include Scarface, he didn't direct it though, but if you include that, that's my favorite. Um, but yeah, whatever. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys like these. Like I said, I'm going to be doing more of these, I think, in the future, and they're just fun to talk about movies that I've seen before. Anyways, guys, see you later.